And for newcomers, this is the Fishbowl. Somebody sits down, somebody stands up, and anybody is free to come into the circle and sit and join the conversation.
So I think what's missing is listening for what they're actually asking for, even if they don't totally know what it is. So listening for where there's an opportunity to engage a member, or listening for if they're stuck on something and you start noticing a pattern, what is that pattern? How can you help out with that? Something I actually noticed in my space right now is there are a lot of men that are at around the same age going through divorces or going through other difficult times like layoffs and things like that. And I know that I speak to a very specific audience that isn't necessarily them, so it's how can I invite another member to do just like a dude happy hour. And like, I do not do gendered events, it is not a thing that I intentionally do, but it's also like my idea of fun is knitting and cooking and stuff like that. Theirs is probably like, let's get a whiskey and talk. And so you can yes, absolutely create an environment of trust and where people can like really play and grow.
You recommend a space where the members actually can bring themselves in. It's like it's a space which is not developed. It's a space which gives you the freedom to do something, to influence, and so that the members are actually driving the space where to go.
So I'd like to do more, make it a little bit more wild, bring more life in there. But if your clients, don't want that, I think you have to also stick to this position for a bit.
I think there's a balance too between listening to what they want and what's like a safe place for them, because it is very safe to come in and get your work done and have a very professional environment and just go about your business. But you're in co-working because you want to do something different.
I think it's very important to bring some sort of friction, like not leave people only on the comfort zone, although it's very important also that people can feel their stability in the space. You're from Switzerland, I'm not sure exactly where, but then like in smaller villages and smaller places, people still know their neighbors and they still do this. And I think the co-working space kind of plays that role, like in the big city, because there's people kind of see each other every day, and then it's like living in a village again, right? You know your neighbors, it's different type of neighbors, and you kind of start building some resilient net of people out of that.
Many people come to co-working spaces, and myself included, looking for those peer connections that can actually lead them forward in life, not just people that can make them feel good about themselves. And so I think we have to think intentionally as co-working space champions or members or leaders about how we shepherd our people into those moments where they can grow into life. I think people are looking for leadership, right? And people have the potential to be leaders themselves, but somebody has to speak to that potential. And I think unless we have people who are willing to be bold and speak to the potential of their members, then everyone's just gonna kind of go, status quo. And then we continue to see crazy shit happen in our world, and everyone's like, what do we do? I think co-working spaces are great spaces for actualizing leadership.
What we have as a sort of a peculiar thing is that a lot of people fall in love. I'm serious. I'm serious, guys. If you're single, come to our place. We didn't do this.
Yeah.
This happened by itself because we were just like, hey, let's sit and talk.
Bingo.
There's no activity tonight. Let's do this, and then people just fell in love.
Exactly.
How strange is that?
People are coming to these spaces looking for identity and looking to find themselves maybe with other people similar or different to them. And so I think as space managers, noticing, or as community members, noticing that this is the behavior, subconsciously even, that's happening in our spaces, how might we foster identity formation? It's beyond how to become a better UX designer. This is really deep stuff, but yet our people are looking for these things, right?
When you go to hairdresser and then you talk with him all the time because it's kind of present that he's playing the role of your psychologist in a way. So this is the reality in a way. They want to open up, but they need to have this feeling that this is okay.
Yeah.
So if we talk about facilitation, it's about people in the space who actually have people skills and people feel that they can open up to them.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity to listen, what's going on in different segments. So definitely it's not just work. So I think that most of the networking events tend to feel unnatural to a lot of people because
Yes.
you're expected to do something, but in
Come on, we get
reality,
Yeah.
we really like the
Mm.
design which is invisible.
Yeah.
You know, the best design is invisible. It feels like totally natural. It does what I think it will do.
Mm.
So this invisible layer of promoting these
Mm.
interactions is something that's really interesting, especially in a co-working environment. I don't know what it is.
I do.
So, I, together with Cecile, we run a partner dance association. In order to hear what people have to say to you, you need to be able to create a space for them to feel safe to talk to you. And beside different tools for communication, as like how to listen, how to talk, to welcome, non-violent communication, yay. We use dance as a medium for people to communicate because so we do blues dance and fusion dancing, and we have all kind of in order to people to communicate through dance, we have to set up the space for them to feel safe to do so, and it's a really good way to help people open up.
So how do we, as people who believe that co-working spaces are assets to society and kind of places where people are exploring some deep stuff, how do we kind of make sure that this mindset and this perspective isn't lost kind of within the shift that's happening right now in the co-working movement?
So a lot of people are like, well, how do we start? And I think that by virtue of having a space, like that's your biggest asset. Let's say that one night a week, you could offer the communal space of the space that you're a member of to anybody for any kind of activity from the outside. It doesn't have to be just member activities. So in that way, you actually use an asset that you already have, which is a space that potentially is not being used during the week or during certain parts of the week. And you bring people from the outside. And then you become sort of like that space within your community where you say, anybody that wants to host any event, I know where to go.
For instance, Seats to Meet in Utrecht, their space is totally free. So you go there, you can have free coffee, you can have free lunch. And to a lot of people, this feels totally strange, you know, because they expect, okay, I need to pay for all this consuming here. But their logic is like we are investing in social capital. So basically we are building this really different types of people coming here, a community like from students to professionals to CEOs, so they're all equals. But what they do, it's expected they help to do everything in the event space. So it can be like from cleaning a plate to taking tables somewhere else, it doesn't matter.
What Matthias said, it's like it should be invisible, you know. So you have to attract the right people, and for me, that's really different in a super big space. We are a small space. We have 25 desks, and as we select the members, we select them also by the personality, you know. So how they behave and what's the feeling about the people. So we make sure to curate the more or less same type of personality, and then it works alone, you know. They create their own ideas, they create their own stuff. We create dinners and things like that where people come together, and then we don't have to talk about the rules and other layers.
I remember like some of the things when we started Agora, it was like, at the beginning I remember I needed to be really meticulous with some things, like how do you want the aesthetics to be, that we didn't want anybody to put stickers in the walls or in the toilets, and we didn't want any posters, and how we were with people, we were really dedicated into it.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I let go completely of being this sort of person that was pushing that so much, but I realized that after maybe 2 years, it's kind of in the air. You know, people are not messing out with the space anymore. If they change the things on the walls, they would kind of follow the same thing. If you keep it going for a long time, then this 20% of the people will kind of get that, and then they will pass it along to the other people coming.
So that's why we talked about social capital. So it has to be really clear, like you need to put something into bag so that somebody else can take something out of bag. So you have to think in a way, okay, how to be more giver and promote the mindset of giving and not just taking. And this is a process which is really complex, long, and exhausting. But
But somebody that wants to come to your space, if somebody wants to come to our space and then tells, I don't have money and blah blah blah. And it's like, what can you offer? And I think yes, spaces should be looking into other ways to monetize, and so that they can have more sort of like safe space to be able to integrate those people without having to go into the red zone.
You need actually a good recruiting strategy if you want to select people and of that sort, you know. Really need a clear vision which people to include and which not if you want to create that sort of community, you know. Depending on the space, I'm talking, in my experience, it's a very small space.
I mean,
I
at the end,
recruit 50 people.
At the end, it's a company, and they have core values, and like that's what every company is doing. They want to attract the best employees, let's say, and we are co-working spaces, and whatever focus we set, we want to attract the best members that fit into our idea and our mindset. And as co-working is so diverse, from small spaces to big spaces, focus to open, art to take whatever, you know, you have to have the right recruiting strategy.
But it's not even a recruiting strategy. I mean, there are so many people that want to recruit the best people, but they themselves don't even know what they are.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? You don't even know. You don't even have a coach. You don't even have a standpoint on life, and you just want to have the best people around. You don't get that.
You know, you can help somebody to become best version of themselves, but if they don't do it, they're lost cause. You know, so if they are not prepared to invest in themselves, then you can't do much for them.
And quick note about the format: if you could give me a thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, or thumbs down, is it like as to the format? Awesome, thanks. Look at on the hot seat.